Through this recording, it seems like I go back and forth on Dr. Glover's name. It's Glover with a G, so Glover, and I say Glover from time to time. So I apologize for that in advance.
Hey, all right. Thank you so much. We have the amazing Dr. Robert Glover or Glover. I always want to say Glover.
He definitely knows what not to do. So buckle up. This conversation promises to be both enlightening and actionable. This is just the beginning. We barely scratched the surface. We're going to get to way more in the future with him. But first, welcome Dr. Robert Glover.
Think of Danny Glover, the actor, or Lover with a G.
All right, Lover with a G.
That's the easy way to remember it.
Glover. All right, perfect. Well, I have a few questions. So if I were to just another quick little random get to know Dr. Glover, a favorite book and a favorite film or movie.
I read quite a bit, so it's hard to come up with favorites because.
You could do a couple.
I'll give you a few. I just finished a book just last week. I'd heard of it before. Tim Ferriss mentioned it on an interview I saw called The Unbearable Lightness of Being. Really, really well-written book, mostly about political unrest in Europe back in the 60s, but mostly around relationship and sexuality. And I think it was kind of a shocker book back when it came out in the 60s because it deals quite a bit with sexuality. Now it seems a little bit tame, but back then it was probably, but just well written. So just some favorite books of mine. I like.
I'm writing this down. Just
Fight Club. I'm talking fiction.
Fight Club. Well, let's go. Movie.
I'm just gonna. Yeah, it's a good movie as well. Mm-hmm. But I'm just giving you a fiction book because most men don't read a lot of fiction.
Should we?
Yes, you should. Because think about it. Nowadays, I talk to a lot of coaches, in interviews, and I know a lot of coaches. And coaches are always reading kind of like self-improvement related books, marketing books, lots of marketing books, or listening to them. Basically, men don't read that much anymore.
Audio, yeah.
Watching a lot of podcasts on marketing, business development, and self-improvement. But if you think about it, storytelling was the original form of self-improvement. The stories always had a moral to them. They're whether it's a hero's journey type story, a casualty, a redemption tale, a moral casualty tale of Icarus getting too close to the sun, or redemption, or
the hero arc,
like Odyssey or the Iliad. And so, fiction is our way of communicating wisdom and truth and what works and what doesn't work. So I love fiction. So I would say Count of Monte Cristo is one of my favorites. My all-time favorite fiction, pretty easy, quick read, so I'd highly recommend it. Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea. It's about a guy in Cuba out fishing by himself every day, an old man. Loves baseball, so you can't go wrong if you love baseball. I love Kurt Vonnegut Jr. I just read Slaughterhouse-Five again, probably about a year ago. I hadn't read that since high school. I loved Kurt Vonnegut Jr. when I was in high school. Right now I'm reading a book that I heard Chris Williamson recommend called Seven Eves. So I guess science fiction. It's the moon blows up and it's going to destroy the Earth. So
that's cool.
I'm a few chapters into that.
Well, I'm gonna say I didn't think, Dr. Glover, that you would recommend fiction. Because a lot of the gentlemen that I am close to that are in the world, like, I'd love to be them, right? They don't read fiction. They don't read sci-fi. They all self-help.
And again.
That's crazy to hear. That's awesome. I love that.
I often give kind of maybe paradoxical type advice or recommendations. I'm a therapist by training. I got my first degree in 1979, so 40 plus years ago.
Yeah, let's actually, I'm so sorry about that to cut you off. Let's give a little bit of background. You have like over 40 years of professional experience in marriage and counseling. So who is Dr. Glover? Just real simply and quickly.
All right. Well, I love these questions about movies and books because
I know we got sidetracked there. I'm so sorry.
No, they are who I am. So I'd rather talk about that. Believe me, I talk about me and No More Mr. Nice Guy all the time.
I know. I wanted to switch it up for that reason, but I'm sorry. For the audience that doesn't know you, who's Dr. Glover?
Okay, so probably the reason we're talking is I wrote a book that came out 20 plus years ago, coming up on 25 years ago, called No More Mr. Nice Guy. And so when people reference my book, that's usually what they're referring to. I've written or co-authored 4 books, a couple of books on dating essentials for men, and dating essentials for men FAQ. And then I co-authored a book with one of my coaches called The Big Stick. That's just kind of an overview of everything that I've taught for the last 25 or so years. Since I started working on my own nice guy issues 30 plus years ago, and as a therapist working with a lot of nice guys in couples therapy individually, and then a lot of groups over the last 20 plus years, 25 years, my main focus has been men, working with men, especially men that identify with nice guy syndrome. They're pleasers, giving to get, avoiding conflict, often struggle in a relationship, either struggling to talk to women, get a girlfriend, get laid, or when they get in a relationship, they turn into such nice guys, passively pleasing men that their girlfriends lose interest in them quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Or struggling in longer term relationships. Maybe the sex has gone away, they're unhappy, their wives are unhappy.
Sounds like most men right now.
It sounds like a lot of guys.
This sounds like so many humans I know. That's awesome.
And it could also relate to their work and career, to where maybe they're not living up to their potential, or they don't enjoy what they do, or they really want to launch their own business, but they're afraid. So most of my work, well, I'd say probably 100% of my work focuses on men these days. I do workshops and seminars. I have online courses. I got a men's membership program I launched a year and a half ago.
We're going to talk about
over 500 guys all over the world. So I'm really all about working with men. And I kind of go back to the paradoxical advice that I give. I'm an information creator. I'm an influencer. I put information out in the world. I write books. I do interviews. I do podcasts. I do classes. But here's the thing I tell men, because we live in a world where we're bombarded with information. I mean, you're creating more information. Yeah. I'm participating in that. You're going to
mucking it up. Yeah.
You're going to put it on your YouTube page or your Spotify channel or whatever. And so here's what I see, kind of going back to the reading thing that I was talking about. Guys reading all these self-help books, self-improvement books, marketing books, business books. And one of the things that I tell the majority of men that I work with is you probably already have enough information to make a significant change in your life, whatever that is, whether it's learning to talk to women, whether it's physical fitness and health, whether it's, 10xing your business, marketing your business, changing your relationship. Most guys I know that I talk to, that I work with, that you talk to, that you work with, have a shitload of information, and yet we just keep seeking more. And here's the deal.
Mental masturbation. Yes.
It can be, but not necessarily, because I keep growing. I'll listen to podcasts of guys that I like. I keep reading books, but I've kind of really slowed down with reading self-improvement books, business books, marketing books. Because after a while, there's lots of good information out there, and I'll get good ideas and new information. At what point do I accept my life is that I'm okay, I'm all right, I'm going to continue to grow, but is consuming more information the same thing as growing? The bottom line is we can fill our heads with information, but if we don't act on it, if it doesn't level up our life, if it doesn't improve our quality of our life, that is mental masturbation.
Yeah.
And so that's why, going back to the book thing, I recommend men a lot of times quit reading self-help for a while, quit reading marketing. Bottom line is they're all saying the same thing one way or another. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying there's not good stuff out there. And again, I put information out there. But maybe go on a moratorium and maybe for a while just apply what you know. just take a break from that constant consuming of information and like read fiction or watch good movies or, go travel, go experience the world, go, if you're single, go practice being a social animal. If you're in a relationship, either practice getting more in or more differentiated. Practice what you've been consuming information-wise. That's when the information actually has benefit. Other than that, it's just clutter in our brain. Well, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Yeah. But what is a good idea if it just stays in our brain? That's why I say go read some fiction, because fiction is about enjoyment. It's about expanding. It's about taking you to other worlds. And the stories always do have a reason, a purpose, a moral, a space they're taking you to. And so it's just a way of kind of shifting what we're consuming.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's, and it also kind of implies what you preach a lot in all your programs. It's like play. You talk about like going out there, experiencing, play, have a life, actually have a life. And part of your book that I love so much, as I kind of reflected on your book, it's what guys need is a lot of action items too, right? Like what not to do and what to do to a point, right?
We do tend to need that.
Yeah.
And I know when I was writing No More Mr. Nice Guy, I was a therapist, and in therapy, you're pretty much, people show up in your office, you kind of meet them where they're at, help them find their own understandings, find their own direction. And most therapy, that's not true for all therapy. I mean, cognitive behavioral therapy might be pretty directive. NLP might be kind of directive, but most therapies are more kind of intuitive, that the patient, the client finds their own way. Now, coaching is very different than that. It's like, all right, what's the problem? Here's how we're going to fix it. Here's the steps to take. Here's where you're going to report in. Here's your accountability. And they're both good. But when I was writing No More Mr. Nice Guy, I thought I was pretty much done writing it. I sent it off to an editor, paid him a couple $1,000s to read it. He gave me some pretty direct feedback. He said, you've way too many illustrations. I think you need to clean up this part. And then he said, you need to, you can't just tell guys, don't be a nice guy, or here's why you're a nice guy. Don't be it. He said, you have to tell them what to do. And I said, I'm a therapist. You don't tell people what to do. And he goes, this is a self-help book. You have to tell people what to do. So out of that suggestion of tell people what to do came the breaking free activities. I don't know. I don't remember. There's something like 56.
There's quite a few. Yeah.
There's a bunch of breaking free activities. Those were not in my original document. Those came as the result of that editor saying, you don't just tell people don't say, all right, stop being a nice guy. Stop being so passive. Stop avoiding conflict. You got to actually walk people through those steps. And so you're right. When men come to me for a therapy or join a group or come to a workshop, they want action items. And they often say, how long is this going to take? And I usually say, I don't know. I'll let you know what I find out.
Yeah, it's a trick question.
I've been working on it for 30 years and I'm still working on it. Yeah. So I'm still a recovering nice guy. I see, where I've come a long way and how things are different in my life, amazingly different. But I still watch kind of some instinctive nervous system reactions. If my wife's mad at me, or if I think anybody's mad at me, actually, it can kind of trigger that. And I just watch it and notice it and soothe myself and lean into it. So it doesn't create the old nice guy behaviors, but it still triggers my nervous system. And I mean, even that's getting better, but I still notice it. So you're right. We like those actionable items. Tell me what to do next. And so, often, okay, here's where we'll start. Let's start number one, go find safe people. Yeah. Go find people that you can open up to, begin revealing yourself to, be vulnerable, start releasing what was called your toxic shame, your inner belief that I'm not okay, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable. Find safe people to start releasing, telling the things that you don't want people to know about you, that you keep hidden away, that you compensate for. Get more accurate information and feedback from people that know you're actually pretty normal, or you're all right, or hey, we're just the same. We both have that issue.
Can I interject on that?
Jump in.
Dr. Glover, because of your whole experience, I've been downloading as much information as I can on all your podcasts, as many as I could. thousands of hours, probably not. No, probably at least
there's
around
a lot.
100.
There's a lot.
Probably around
out
100 hours. But you went to now a sex addict or sexaholic anonymous. You went to one of those. I did that yesterday because of your.
Did you really?
And it is freeing to go out there.
How cool!
And say, hey. This is me, hi Ben. These are my issues, blah blah blah, and everyone's like, "Thank you, Ben." That's it. Done. You're good. It's
nobody's freaking out. Nobody's going, "You're a pervert.
Yeah,
you're a dick.
it's
you're an
absolutely
asshole."
freeing.
I loved it. Freeing. Yeah, I found out I wasn't a sex addict because I wasn't having enough sex, but it was a perfect place to land because I was in my mid-30s and I had never opened up or revealed myself to anybody. I didn't open up or reveal anything I thought anybody might have a negative reaction to. Yeah. So that was just a blessing to me to be in a group of like 9 or 10 guys who were sex addicts, who really had some pretty gnarly shit going on in their lives, and they're going, why is that guy even here? But it was so great. And so I'm a big fan, highly recommend. Find safe people or safe place. Find a coach, a men's group, a 12-step group, any kind, a therapist, where you can practice being vulnerable, revealing yourself, and finding out that nobody freaks out. Nobody thinks you're bad. Nobody thinks you're evil. And basically they say, oh, yeah, me too. Yeah, I struggle with that too. Yeah, okay, welcome to the club, man. Glad you're here. We need that. Nice guys need it. So we didn't become nice guys in social isolation. We became nice guys in the context of being small infants, babies, children, misinterpreting the behaviors and reactions of people around us, especially our parents or our peers or maybe school teachers, where we misinterpreted that we weren't good enough, we were bad, we were unlovable. That's inaccurate information, but it's what we internalize into our emotional operating system. So we gotta go be around other people, usually not our partner, our family members, may or may not be our church, depending on how open-minded people in your church are, where you feel safe to reveal things about you that you don't want anybody to know. And then once you get the feedback, no, actually, you're pretty normal. You're okay. Yeah. Or, well, how do you want to work on that? Or how do you want to move past that? But with no shame, no judgment, then you go, whoa, I'm not a bad person. I can let people get close to me. I can let people love me. I can open up and be real and be myself, which is what so many nice guys struggle with. They're such chameleons. They're trying to become what we think other people want us to be trying to hide whatever we don't want. Well, whatever we think's going to get a negative reaction.
That chameleon word I used to think was like, hey, that's such a nice word. Oh, you can blend in anywhere, wherever you go. It doesn't matter. I'm like, oh, let's go, chameleons. No, and after reading your book, I was like, chameleons. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it kind of explained what is the epitome of a nice guy in a relationship, in a marriage, while dating. What is a nice guy? How do you know I'm a nice guy? I need to work on that. And then we're going to go to code contracts because I love that.
Well, actually, I was just going to probably tee that one up.
Let's go.
It's probably, how do you know, a good way to know is that you have this tendency to tend to give more than you get. I just yesterday on a call from my men's program, about once a month I interview, an author, somebody, that I think is making a good difference in the world. And just yesterday, I interviewed Dr. Gary Chapman, who wrote the book, The 5 Love Languages. Yeah. And one of the things I kind of found out in reading that, because I'd read it years ago and I read it again, and it sold like 20 million copies. This guy's 86 years old. Yeah, he's still out there. He looks young. He's healthy.
Wow.
But one of the things I found from a lot of the guys in my men's program is that when they'd come into contact with it, it was almost kryptonite for them as nice guys. So they thought, if I want to get a woman to love me, I have to give more in her love language, whether it's
you're absolutely
gifts,
right.
Quality time, touch, of acts of service, words of affirmation. So what happens, nice guys will fall in, here's the answer. I'll give her more of her love language and then she'll love me back. But what happens is that nice guys spend a lot of their time using, as you mentioned, what I call covert contracts. If I do this for other people, if I do this in the world, then I'll fill in the blank. I'll be loved. I'll be liked. I'll be appreciated. I'll get my needs met. Women will want to sleep with me. My wife won't get mad at me. Nobody will criticize me. So these covert contracts are basically, they're manipulative. And I say they're covert because the nice guy often is not aware consciously of the contract. If they stop and think, yeah, I did do that because I wanted you to approve of me, or I did do that because I didn't want you to disapprove of me, or I wanted you to smile, or I didn't want you to look angry at me. So if you start thinking about it, we can become conscious. But the other person doesn't know the contract exists. So the three basic nice guy covert contracts. Number one, if I'm a good guy, and I'm kind of the one deciding I'm a good guy. I smile a lot. I'm not angry like my father. I don't just want one thing from women. Like
that's big. Yeah,
I'm a good guy. Then I will be liked and loved. Now, where I see that a lot with nice guys in relationship, that actually can lead to pretty abusive behaviors. The guy going, the guy basically will befriend a woman, and maybe she's needy or depressed or going through problems, and we listen to them talk about their problems, and we try to fix them, and we pay their car payment, we go pick them up and drive them places, and we think I'm such a good guy that they're going to like me, and also we hide from them any agenda we have about wanting to be boyfriend, girlfriend, or see their boobs.
Yeah,
we hide that. And then, so the woman takes full advantage of everything that we offer them. And then at some point, maybe we get bold enough to ask her out or kind of, push. And the woman goes, what? You mean like go out on a date?
Like, no,
you and me? No, we're friends. I could never see us doing that.
Yeah, so, I love you too much.
I love you. You're too much of
a friend. Yeah, don't ruin that.
To go out with you and show you my boobs. So, the nice guys use this covert contract. Now, then what happens a lot is then he reacts pretty negatively to that. Well, after I've done all this for you, and I did this, and I was there for you, and now all of a sudden he turns into a total asshole, and he's mean, and he's abusive, and maybe even aggressive. Like you owe me this, and you'll if you kind of go on, if you Google nice guys, or like the problems with nice guys, or the dangers with nice guys, or don't trust a nice guy, you'll see a bunch of blog articles or media articles from women that will tell a story. Oh, this guy, he was so nice to me, he was caring, he was there for me, and then when when he said he wanted me to be his girlfriend, and I didn't see that coming, they actually did. They're lying. They knew why the guy was being nice, because we want to see their boobs. They know that. But the guy was hiding it from her. So And then when I said, oh no, we're too good of friends, then he got aggressive and he was mean. He was not a nice guy. So that does really happen. These covert contracts can lead to resentment, passive aggressive behavior, aggressive behavior. So that's covert contract one. If I'm a good guy, you'll like me. You'll love me. Covert contract number two is that if I read your mind and meet your needs without you having to ask, then you will read my mind and meet my needs without me having to ask. Well, none of us are really mind readers, and whatever I think I'm doing for you, I'm still just giving to get, and I'm trying to guess at what you might like or need, or going back to the love languages, maybe trying to guess at what will make you happy, but maybe it's not even the love language you speak, but I'm giving what I need to give, not what you need to receive. With this agenda, with the strings attached, you'll read my mind, appreciate me, never get mad at me, want to be my girlfriend, want to have sex with me, want to spend time with me, whatever that might be. So that's covert contract number two. Covert contract number three is if I do everything right, whatever that means, then I will have a smooth, problem-free life. Now, it's kind of this Peter Pan-ish, the world could be just nice and easy and everything go well. No drama, no problems, no this. Why is this happening to me? I thought I did everything right. Why are you mad at me? I thought I did everything right. Why are you leaving me? I thought I did everything right. Right? Why are you creating drama? Why can't you just be happy? I do everything to make you happy, but you're never happy. I've said that more than once.
This sounds way too familiar. To me too.
I'm a recovering nice guy. Just ask my wife about that. We're coming up on our 8th wedding anniversary next week.
Congrats.
And I've completely transformed my wife's world. When I met her, poor working woman, 2 kids, living in poverty. She now lives in, a beautiful home that has a big hole in the floor in the part of it.
For now.
She drives a Jeep Rubicon. She wears Lululemon. We travel. We go first class. Her kids go to private school, and and she'll be unhappy or about things in general, or unhappy about something about me, and I'll go, why can't you just be happy? I do everything for you. You have everything. Your life has changed, and that's still a covert contract. You should appreciate me and be happy because I've done all this for you, and so that's a piece I still have had to work on. It's really okay if she's unhappy. It's really okay if she has a ruminating brain and finds things to be upset about that really I think are trivial, but they're important to her. And you know what? The more I let go of her having to be happy and trying to fix anything, the more I actually enjoy her. And and the more she now has learned to just work through her own stuff. Actually pretty quickly most of the time.
That part was, I go on, but I was just going to say that it sounds so simple. But
I like to make things sound simple. Yeah.
But then I'm like, to be honest, Dr. Glover, this is literally what I've told so many people, that I wish when you were married, you were handed this book as a guy. For most guys. Yeah, because so many of us have just fallen into that. Because I heard... Come as You Are by Emily Nagoski.
I have that book in my Kindle queue, but I haven't actually read it.
Yeah, there's a few good books that hey, instant recommend. But for the men, please, just no more Mr. Nice. It's just, you need that because you're gonna make these mistakes. So sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
Before I began, before she forced me into that 12-step group for sex addicts, so you're a sex addict, you need help, or I'm going to leave. Well, I didn't, even though our marriage sucked just 2 years into it. I mean, it sucked bad. I went, and got the help. But, I remember telling her, on our honeymoon, if you've watched enough, you know my stories. On our honeymoon, she said, aren't you glad that now that we're married, we don't have to pretend to like sex anymore?
I cannot believe that.
I wasn't pretending. Most guys would call that bait and switch. But I was a nice guy. I can fix this. I can make this good. So, and so I remember telling her one time, I don't care if I ever come, as long as you're happy. Oh, and I look back on that now and go, that's a true blue nice guy. It's kind of, I'm past being embarrassed for saying it, but when I first kind of realized how nice guy-ish, covert contract-ish, I just want to make you happy, baby. That's all I care about. And she was never happy. It never worked. I never made her happy. And so if we can take responsibility for ourselves, getting our needs met, making ourselves happy, surrounding ourselves with people who want to help us get our needs met, asking them to help us, letting them help us, which is another big nice guy issue. We don't tend to ask for help. We don't let people help. Part of our recovery is learning to make our covert contracts overt. Like I said, surrounding ourselves with people who want to help us get our needs met. You're in a relationship and the woman doesn't seem to care what you want. Well, that's probably not a good partner. I'm a big believer that a relationship should lift you up, not pull you down. It should lighten your load, not add to your burden. So many nice guys, we get into relationships, not just with women, but just maybe at work, with family, with friends, where they become burdening, like we're dragging an anchor around because we're always trying to give and figure them out and make people happy and keep them from being upset and keeping them liking us.
Do you feel like we're the anchors as nice guys or recovering nice guys in that aspect?
To them or in our own lives?
To them, and both, I think. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. You make me think a little bit here. I like that. So, yes, caretaking is an anchor to other people because caretaking versus caregiving. Caretaking is giving what we want to give so that they'll like us or love us. That's a burden now. Now they owe us something, right? So that becomes the anchor. Caregiving is when it's something that will lift them up or bless their life that you can give. Like my wife and I, we will joke about having this competition of who can outlove the other, who can outbless the other, who can outgift the other. Oh, Nala's coming walking out here now. She's going to
bring her on the screen.
Come hang out with me.
I've yet to see her on any of your podcasts.
Sit. That's my girl.
Oh, she's a big girl.
Shake. Come on. You can do better than that. Atta girl.
She's a cutie.
Ultra.
I was going to ask you about your ayahuasca trips. I mean, I have a whole bunch. It'll be for other times. Because there's a whole bunch of okay. There's the women questions. I want to make sure we get to.
Pick your best ones.
I'm gonna go through the best ones. A little bit of shotgun questions here. So, women. They have to sit, from what I've heard and what I understand and what I've read, from your stuff, from so many other. You always quote David Data. Which you kind of you're like, yeah, I kind of go with him, but women need to fall into their femininity. So how and what can men do to help them fall into their femininity? And then is there a vice versa for that?
Okay.
For men?
Let's kind of define some terms, because if not, we could get some real blowback. We'll get ourselves canceled.
Yeah, that's true. Especially nowadays.
Not too worried about it. But let's talk about what is masculine and feminine. So
let's go there.
If we can, let's see if we can separate them out from man-woman.
Yep.
Okay. I get that typically language is everything. Yeah. Let's go. Let's talk about energy. Think of the yin and yang, the Eastern symbol of the black and white.
Yeah.
This is the interplay of energies, where it's polarity, where you've got the like on a magnet, you got a positive pole and a negative pole. Positive, negative aren't value judgments; they're just they're just the symbols we put on them.
Right.
You cut a magnet in half, is now going to create each half is going to create a new opposite pole.
Yeah, polarity.
And so that pole is what creates the polarity, that makes the magnet that gives it force, that gives it power. Now, in this world, kind of Eastern thought has broken everything down into masculine and feminine energies. So where there's the masculine mover that rests in nothingness, and the feminine chaos that is constantly in movement.
Can I stop you right there? I got in trouble by my sister when I said women have this beautiful chaos. I didn't say beautiful, and that's probably why. But it's like that women are chaos, and I've heard it say, men are the shoreline while women are the ocean. They can be peaceful and calm.
Yeah. And and again, I've learned to speak in terms of masculine and feminine. Now, David Data would say women are the weather, but I think he's probably learned along the way too. And the women that seem to be attracted to his teaching are women that tend to be the weather. They like it. Oh yeah. Cool. I'm the weather. I'm the crazy witch, but that's okay.
I'm the hurricane. Mm-hmm.
So he might say, the masculine is the vase, and the feminine is the water that takes the shape of the vase, or the shoreline, like of the Grand Canyon. That's the masculine that directs but the river still affects, that shoreline. It's eaten away for thousands of years. So you think of the masculine as the structure, the container. In fact, one way I like to put it is masculine frame, feminine flow. And we all have masculine and feminine tendencies and energy. So the masculine part about ourselves, the way I define it, this is my way of, probably not so much the David Data view of it. Actually, I signed up. I'm going to do a 4-day retreat with him next March. Really? Just 30 men. I'm so excited.
That's awesome.
Doing that. He's a great teacher.
You're practicing what you preach. I love that.
Oh yeah, I paid the $7,500 to sign up to go do a David Data workshop.
That's awesome.
The masculine in us, I say, it creates the frame, it creates the structure, and it's the doer, it's the penetrator.
Yeah, I love that.
And the feminine in us takes the form of the frame, and it is done too. It is penetrated. Yep. Now, that penetration of the feminine can be for good or for bad. It can be abusive, it can be trauma, but it can also be bliss. Of when you're opened and penetrated, and as Data would say, fuck to God. It's just a beautiful bliss.
Yeah.
So we all have masculine, feminine tendencies. I think that in general, probably you take away all social conditioning, and we're all product of social conditioning. When I was in graduate school in the 80s, I was taught there is no gender. It's only a social construct imposed on little boys and girls by society. That's a myth. That's not true. It's still taught as fact, but it's not. Little boys and little girls in general develop along certain predictable patterns. And within a bell curve, there's always exceptions to it. So in general, most men I work with, even if we've kind of been socialized to be more feminine, to be more passive, to be more adaptive, go along to get along, in general, our greatest bliss comes from challenge. It comes from meeting demand and mastering that. That's what gives the bliss to the masculine.
The thing that the nice guys run away from.
We tend to run away from. And so, because most of us live in what I call our lower feminine, which is a very unconscious place of feeling done to, victimized, taking things personally. That's lower feminine. But the feminine, higher feminine, is a blissful state to be, is a receptivity of like, I'm sitting out in my backyard right now, and even though I showed you my dog, which when I'm with my dog, I'm just I love
being.
it. But high 20s Celsius, just beautiful day. If I can, when I'm just sitting here looking at my flowers, my garden, that's very feminine. I'm receiving, I'm being filled, I'm being nurtured. But when it's time to get on an interview, or I got clients later that I'll be talking to, I'm in my masculine. I'm more about showing up, being present, being conscious, creating the container, having a consistency. So we've all got both of those tendencies. And most nice guys do have a fairly strong feminine side.
Yeah.
And which means that the women we tend to attract or invite into our lives, if there's any kind of polarity, they're often going to be fairly masculine. And maybe in their lower masculine, where they're kind of controlling and dominating and aggressive. And then we wonder why are women, well, because we polarized them into that state. So masculine, feminine are not good, bad. They're not male, female. But what I tell men, in order to attract and open to the blessings and the bliss and the chaos of the feminine, we have to consciously cultivate being in that masculine side. We've got to open up to challenge. We have to connect with men to where we get support and we get challenged. We have to welcome the challenge rather than going, why is this happening to me? I thought I was going to have a smooth, problem-free life, blah, blah, blah. And instead say, okay, bring it. Here's my chance to be masterful. And to do that best, we tend to need a tribe of men around us that have our back, that are at our side. We're not going to battle by ourselves. We need tribe. And that's where I see so many men today. I mean, if I can give one piece of advice to the men listening to this.
Married or not, right?
It doesn't matter. If you do not have a tribe, if you do not have a close connection with good men where you see them regularly, you're vulnerable with them, they're vulnerable with you, you support each other, you laugh together, you hug each other, you hold each other accountable, you give each other shit, you bring out the best. If you don't have that, you're not going to attract the feminine in the ways that you want to, whether you're single or in a relationship. And a quote that kind of Chris Williamson almost, I think, took viral after I said it, is that the feminine...
He does that.
He does that. He's highly attracted to the man who's comfortable in his own skin, knows where he's going, and looks like he's having a good time getting there. So are you comfortable in your own skin? Do you like you? Can you go into public and engage with people? Do you take good care of you? Do you get enough sleep? Do you eat well? Do you get to the gym? Do you take care of this vessel, this temple? Do you love it? Do you like you? And do you know where you're going? Are you living with purpose, with passion? Are you getting up every day saying, bring it? I love penetrating this world and putting a big dent in the universe. And are you having a good time going there? Are you having fun? Are you being playful? Do you enjoy your life? And every time I share that formula, the feminine being attracted to a man who's comfortable in his own skin, knows where he's going, looks like he's having a good time getting there. When I share that with women, especially female coaches on interviews,
like, yes,
they all go,
that's exactly what we want.
Yeah, that's what I want. The feminine, it's like that. It's just like
butter.
Anything into a vacuum, it's just like that. The feminine wants to fill that vessel and then be filled with the fullness of that kind of energy. But when we're empty and insecure and passive and avoidant and second guessing everything and risk avoidant and needy, that's not going to attract what we want into our life. It's not going to attract much of anything that we're going to find valuable. It may attract, problem situations, family drama, toxic work situations, broken women. But is that what we want? It may feel familiar, and we may get to do all of our nice guy skills and use our superpowers of, fixing and caretaking and problem solving and, but is that really what we want? And so, there's no magic formula to this, but again, I'll go back to find safe people, start revealing yourself, especially connect deeply with men, find a men's group, a men's program. Just for me, it's always been transformational in my life. Even just getting a man, personal trainer or life coach, where you've got that masculine assistance and direction to help you level up to your best self. I've often said in the past, whenever I had a personal trainer was the times in my life that I got laid the most. Because I was, awesome. Paying good attention to me and filling my bucket and getting in shape and challenging myself in the gym and eating well and looking good in my clothes and looking good naked and feeling confident. Yeah. That shit'll get you laid.
So I want to kind of, because I know we're running low on time. I want to say one thing. Just this is a curious question. You wrote No More Mr. Nice Guy about 20 years ago.
No, longer ago. I probably finished it. Probably finished it 25 plus years ago.
Because it took about 6 years. Up, so I know. You forget, right?
It took me about 6-7 years to write it over time. Yeah, and about 3 years to find a publisher for it. And then about the first 7, 8, 10 years, it was kind of just existed. Then it kind of hit that hockey stick and took off.
I was going to say, it almost seems like there's been a resurgence. Like, again, like I hear you, I've heard of you, and I saw like the last 5 years, it's awesome that maybe people need it more. I think people are gravitating to the help they need.
There's more nice guys out there. Well, so many publishers told me, so many editors said when I was shopping the book, said, Robert, we love your book, but they all said the same thing. Our marketing department says men won't buy a self-help book, especially one that tells them they're a loser. Yeah, it was 25 years ago.
Yeah, back then you're probably right.
Pretty much pre-Amazon, pre-Kindle Reader, pre-Audible, pre-podcast, where, somebody listens to me on your podcast. You put a link to my book on Amazon.
Yeah.
They go to Amazon, click the book, and then Amazon said people who bought this book also bought this book and this book. Yeah. Men buy self-help books. And, now that the publishing industry, they had their heads so far up their asses, most print publishing has been in the toilet for years. But now once guys could get their book self-published on Amazon, all of a sudden, game changer. Men buy books all the time. Mainly we listen to them because, again, most men don't like to read. But it took me 6-7 years to write it, 3 years to get it published, and then, probably about 10 years for word of mouth to just begin spreading it. Yeah. And my royalty checks get bigger every year. So
that's awesome. And I hope it gets bigger, honestly.
I do too, believe me. I got no problem with that.
This stuff is good. So I want to just one last question with that. Is there any portions of the book that you feel people have misinterpreted or oversimplified that you're like, I really need to make sure? Because when I told people I was reading No More Mr. Nice Guy, they're like, ooh, is that going to make you hate women? Is that going to make you divorced? What would you say?
I actually I like that part still.
That's good. Good.
When I first started talking to my agent, who just loved my book, and he was a very successful. He was old when I met him. I don't know how old he is now, but he liked the book, and he said, but maybe we should change the name. I said, no, non-negotiable. and then so about 8-10 years ago, I said, listen, I want to read the Audible version. It is read by a professional voice. I want to change the contract. So we were able to move on from that contract because it was old enough. And the same company that had the contract before wrote back, told my agent, make this offer. And they said, we want to keep you, we want your voice on it. We've only done that one other time, but we want you in our evergreen catalog. And we're going to give you a $75,000 advance and $5,000 to come to New York and read it. My agent said, we suggest you consider taking this offer. So when I went to New York to read it, I went to my agent's house over in Gramercy Park in Manhattan. And he wanted to give me the $75,000 advance check and just say hi. Yeah. And he goes, that was so brilliant, the title that you picked for it. And I didn't want to say to him, you actually tried to talk me out of the title. So I still love the title in that it creates that little bit of, what? Why did somebody write a book teaching men to be not nice? There's enough not nice men out there. And I think Barnes & Noble, my original publisher, thought there might be a blowback. I think they were hoping for a blowback. Maybe from feminists or maybe women. Wait, this book's misogynistic, blah. No. It was never any because it's not misogynistic. It's the opposite. I maybe in the last 20 years, have gotten a total of a dozen emails that were critical of me.
Yeah.
And more were from men than from women. And the majority of women that write me say, thank you for your book. I understand my husband better. I understand my codependency. I'm a nice girl. So women have actually really responded well to it. Women therapists recommend it to their male clients all the time. About the only women that have ever been critical is obviously not read it, but maybe their boyfriend or husband had and then like left them. And so it's my fault.
Yeah.
And they will send me these emails that are this long. They go on and on and on.
But these ladies were probably abusive or what
problems. My book did not cause, and I'm going to the men, run, Forrest, run. Keep going. Don't go back, But 100%. So, no, there's not been any blowback because it's just teaching men to be conscious, to be present, to be honest, to make their needs a priority, to consciously invite people to help them meet their needs, to give back in healthy ways, to live up to their full potential. There's nothing negative in it.
Yeah.
But the title does kind of put some people on edge.
It's a good.
I went to get a tattoo. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah, fresh.
It's far here.
Oof.
It's fresh. I just got that about
brand new. Pretty new.
3 weeks ago.
All
and
right.
I went to Austin to get it. And I met a tattoo artist there in April when I just stumbled into this tattoo parlor right below the Airbnb I was in. I didn't even know it was a tattoo parlor. It was just a cool looking place, a lot of crucifix art, and I've got crucifix art on my body.
Yeah, you were a pastor for like 8 years, something like you were teaching evangelical.
Yeah, I was, but so I got into the crucifix art long after I quit being a minister. But so I talked to this guy about getting a tattoo of a blackbird or crow or raven to represent my father. And he said, yeah, we could do this, and kind of threw out an idea of kind of what we got. And I said, can I come in on Friday? This was like probably a Tuesday or Wednesday. And he goes, no, you can come in September. That was April.
Oh, man.
So I ended up going in October and got it. Well, in talking with him, I like the tattoo artist. He's of Mexican heritage as well. Been to prison a couple times, former drug dealer, addict for 20 years, to heroin, to cocaine, crack.
He tried it all.
Been sober since I think he said 2012, very active in AAs, vegan. So, we just talked a lot while I was there. And so I gave him a copy of my book back in April. So he's doing my tattoo 3 weeks ago, and we're talking again. He goes, you're really a cool guy. I like you. I like what you teach the men. He goes, I got to make a confession. I didn't read your book. He goes, I thought it had kind of a shitty title. And he goes, I really realize now that, that was my small thinking, that I'm gonna pick it up and read it now. And so we just had a great time. We were the only people in his tattoo shop that Saturday. We just talked about life, relationship, all these, putting a tattoo to represent
forearm tattoo.
The day before, I'd had a peyote ceremony, so I was really.
See, these are all the things I want to kind of dive into. I'll have to have you back on sometime because I want to ask you. You've done about 8 ayahuasca trips.
I've done 8 ceremonies.
These are like all questions. I'm like, I want to dive into that world a little bit of Dr. Glover. Like, okay, what got you going there? I was going to go into
the Dr. Glover you wouldn't expect to meet. Right?
Exactly. That's why I was like, I totally didn't expect it. Like, what's advice for your grandchildren or your children to pass on? There's quite a few questions I want to ask you.
Yeah,
but
we'll do it again.
We'll do another one. Dr. Glover, I appreciate your time. I'm gonna give you some time right now. Like, where can people find you? All your programs, because I know you have a few. You have, obviously Integrated Nation. But go ahead, plug in all the ways we can find you and get some.
drglover.com is my way. It's under construction. It's kind of rough looking right now, but we're going to really make it look nice. So we're rebuilding it right now. But go to drglover.com. It has my courses, my workshops. Listing of my No More Mr. Nice Guy certified coaches. So all that material. Yeah. My other place you can find me is Integration Nation. That's my international men's community. We launched that in July 2023. We have right now over 500 men all over the world. Over 55 calls a month that you can jump on. I'm on a call every Thursday teaching a lesson, doing interviews. Like I said, Dr. Gary Chapman just yesterday. I've interviewed Connor Beaton, John Wineland, Warren Farrell, Dr. Robert Augustus Masters. Next year, we got Alanson Armstrong coming up, Oliver Berkman, who wrote a book called 4,000 Weeks and Meditation for Mortals. And a lot of the calls, I teach a lesson, breakout rooms, got a lot of other small group calls. So integrationnation.net if you're looking for a men's program, men's community. So drglover.com, integrationnation.net.
The Big Stick?
Big Stick is one of my 4 books. Go on Amazon. So No More Mr.
The dating ones.
Dating Essentials for Men. and Dating Essentials for Men FAQ,
Yeah.
and the Big Stick.
There you go. All right, Dr. Glover, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. We will have you on again because you are quite the character. There's so many layers to Dr. Glover. So I will definitely.
What I often tell people I interview with is, okay, when you do your 100th podcast, invite me back. I want to be number 100.
There we go. I love that. Done.
All right. So keep doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to end the recording here. I appreciate that. Dr. Glover, also just want to say, keep doing what you're doing. Like I cannot thank you enough for the level. I don't know what it was, but there was a clicking moment that happened with your book that doesn't always happen in so many books I read. Good. And that is a rarity, and that needs to happen. So I hope that everyone picks it up. I hope that this helps spread the word more and more. And you are amazing. So thank you so much for that.
I would have to say I think my number one love language is words of affirmation, both verbally and non-verbally. So thank you for those words of affirmation. That fills my love tank.
Yeah, you're making a difference, and all the way over here in Utah. And I'm serious. Every married guy that just gets married needs to get this in their hands. They need to, and it's because you spoke your words. You spoke your truth. It's been a pleasure, Dr. Glover. Have fun in your meetings. You're amazing. Keep it up.
Work.
Likewise.
Let me know when this goes live.
Okay, will do. Thank you, sir. We'll see you.